Buying a business, selling a business, that and more today on Cash Flow. Hi, I'm Jason Waters, CEO of JW Financial Group, and welcome to Cash Flow, where we talk about the number one goal of your business, which is to create cash flow. With us today is Todd Reich. Welcome.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yes, I'm Todd Reich with Vineyard Capital Partners. We are a family office based here in Atlanta, and we invest in small growing companies, typically between $1 million and $20 million of revenues. And we are most interested in multi-location businesses with heavy real estate components that have been successful in a couple of locations and want to use capital to replicate that success in new locations. And we primarily invest in funeral homes and franchisors,
Okay.
but we're flexible across all sectors.
Okay. And your background is, you used to work for an investment bank, I believe, correct? Is that what you told me?
Yes, an investment bank on the sell side.
Sell side, okay.
Yes.
So now you do buy and you used to do sell, and so
Exactly.
you're the expert on both sides of it.
What advice do you have for someone contemplating selling their business?
That's a great question. It's something we work with all the time with our clients, is getting your business ready to sell. But I just want to pivot to Todd and let Todd take a shot at it first.
Usually I tell clients, don't do it. Your business is a great asset, and it's been in the family for many years in some cases. But in all seriousness, if you have been thinking about it for a long time and this is something that you've been planning, obviously you want to work with good advisors, good financial advisor, CPA, attorney. You may want to consider an insurance advisor. And then investment bankers. Investment bank is typically for larger businesses, a business broker for smaller businesses.
You know, what I've found a lot is that a lot of folks don't start early enough in getting their business ready to sell. And they'll come to me and say, I'm thinking about selling, what do I do? And they haven't done the necessary planning in advance.
Yeah, we see that a lot. It's always a good thing to start planning 5, even 10 years out. Most businesses, you've probably heard the term, are valued off of an EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization.
Mm-hmm.
While a lot of private business owners keep their net income low for tax purposes, there are certain things you can do to start bolstering your profitability. A buyer is looking at what type of cash flow they're going to be able to generate out of the business in future years. And so positioning your business to produce the most cash flow and proving that to prospective buyers is important. Apart from that, there's a lot of intangible things. The management team is very key. Are you going to be involved in the business going forward? A sale is not necessarily your retirement. So a lot of the buyers we represent, especially in the funeral home business, they want a selling owner to remain on board, at least through a transition period. Mm-hmm. So typically, you don't want to have one foot out the door when you decide you're ready to sell the business. You definitely want to have 2 or 3 years before retirement that you're able to transition the business before you start marketing the business for sale.
What are some ways to get the most money for my business?
You kind of touched on some of this already, which is prepare in advance. And you talked about family businesses, and with family businesses, as you mentioned, a lot of the focus is on minimizing your tax liability, and so it's managing profits down. But when you want to sell your business, you want to manage profits up. So in the short term, you are going to be paying more taxes because you're not trying to manage your profits down or expense everything you possibly can. You are trying to show the potential buyer that they can make a lot of money. You agree with that?
I agree, yes. And the question too, when you are selling your business, the majority of business owners, one of their main goals is to maximize value in a sale. However, that's not always the goal of selling owners. Sometimes they want to preserve the legacy, make sure their employees are taken care of, identifying the right buyer, not just necessarily the buyer who's going to pay the most. but there's several other factors included. So working with an investment banker that can identify numerous types of buyers, or even a boutique investment bank. In the case of the Newbridge Group, they focus exclusively on funeral homes. Like we answered in the question before, one of the main factors is around cash flow. And there are certain ways, there are advisors that help you go back, look backward, and do an adjusted EBITDA or pro forma. Certain buyers, you don't necessarily have to maximize your cash flows 3-4 years out. There are ways to go back and do adjustments for that.
If I want to buy a business, where do I start?
Well, there are certainly financial and non-financial answers to that question, and one of them is, can you actually run the business that you're going to buy?
Exactly, I
What do you
agree.
think?
Yes, you want to definitely make sure you're experienced in that business. However, buying a business, much like buying a stock, doesn't necessarily mean you have to run the business yourself directly.
Right.
Typically, for small businesses, you are going to be very involved. So you want to do your due diligence, make sure how much time is going to be required of you, and make sure it's an industry that you understand and that you enjoy and you have a passion for.
I always say there has to be some kind of connectivity to that business, some applicable skills that you have that you can bring into that business. I mean, there's so many folks that just want to go into the restaurant business because they're good cooks at their house, and it's a totally different thing. Folks don't think, hey, I want to go buy a medical practice, and they're not a doctor. It doesn't happen. So, I mean, I think the same thing applies. You have to, at least have a tangible skill that you can apply to the business you're buying. I think there's another aspect when you get to the financial piece is, how am I going to pay for this business I'm going to buy, and how much money is it going to make me, and am I going to make enough money to repay either the debt or equity I've raised to buy the business? And those are some questions you really have to think about. There's a lot of financing options available, and you can have an SBA loan to help buy if that's what you need to do, and you need typically 20% down, but there's all kinds of ways to do that. You just have to be prepared.
Yes, and I've heard you make the most money when you buy a business, so you definitely want to do your homework. Even though you're passionate about the business, you understand the business, you've been in the industry 30 years, you've been successful. That all can be a failure if you overpay for a business. You've heard about people who have Starbucks stock because they drink Starbucks every day, but they don't look at the stock price, the price to earnings ratio. You have to understand what you're buying and what you're paying for, and like you said, make sure that you understand the financing payments. What is the cash flow going to be coming off of the business in future years? Working with good advisors, good financial analysts that can help you project those cash flows moving forward is critical.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you mentioned advisors before, and I say that again. Not any one of us knows everything about whatever we're engaged in, and so it's getting the right advisors involved, attorneys. Especially any attorneys in that regard too, because it's a legal transaction. But attorneys, CPAs, brokers, you name it, you just have to have good advisors. Well, that is all we have for today's episode. Thank you, Todd, for coming in. How can folks find you if they want to get in touch?
Thanks, Jason. Folks can find me at our website, vineyardcp.com, as well as my email address, todd@vineyardcp.com.
You can find me at Jason Waters or #cashflow. Until next time.